Wrong Turn 5. Bloody Beginnings begins when snooty reporter Colleen Weber goes for a run through the woods after reporting for the music festival gathering, only to be approached by one of the mutant hillbillies, Three Finger. Believing him to be a man in a costume for Halloween, she flips him off with her middle finger, only for him to sever the digit with a knife. Colleen screams and flees, seeking help from a man in the woods named Maynard Odets, who proceeds to hack her to death with an axe. Her severed left hand falls to the ground. After the murder, the Hilliker brothers, Three Finger, Sawtooth, and One Eye approach, and Maynard asks them to give him a hand, to which one of them offers him the reporter's severed hand. Meanwhile, the five friends driving to the festival, only to almost collide with Maynard standing in the middle of the highway. Billy, who is driving, swerves out of the way and crashes the car into a nearby tree. Billy, Gus, and Julian approach the fallen Maynard, only for him to attack them with a knife. The three boys fight back in self-defense and kick him mercilessly. Three Finger readies a bow and arrow at the boys, but the sheriff, Angela Carter, arrives with her deputy. Carter arrests Maynard and the teen boys and brings them into town, while the deputy stays behind to see about the tow truck to bring away the crashed vehicle. After Carter and the group leave, the Hilliker brothers attack him and shoot him with arrows before cutting off his ears and stabbing him in the head, killing him. After being locked in the county jail, Billy confesses to Carter that he has stashed some drugs which he has been bringing with him. Carter lets Gus, Cruz, Lita, and Julian go, and after doing some research, discovers that Maynard is wanted for murder and had been eluding the law for 3 decades. Maynard, however, remains calm and rants on and on about how the Hilliker brothers, who he calls my boys, will rescue him eventually. Carter arranges for Maynard to be handed over to the marshals the next day, despite Maynard telling her that she won't live that long. Gus, Julian, Cruz, and Lita stay at a motel for the night. The Hilliker brothers drag down a telephone pole with their tow truck and attack a power station, killing the security guard by frying him against electric cables, causing a power outage through the town. With most of the townspeople at the music festival, Carter has sparse staff with her and is alone in the station with Billy and Maynard and another prisoner, Mose, in holding cells. Cruz decides to visit Billy in the holding cell and leaves the motel, only to be killed by Three Finger, who eviscerates her and feeds her her own guts. Later, Julian goes to the jail, only to find out that Cruz never arrived. As Lita goes to take a shower, Gus sulks on the bed, only to hear repeated knocking on the door. Angrily, Gus answers and is kidnapped by the Hilliker brothers, who torture him by smashing his legs with sledgehammers to a demented cover of "I've been working on the railroad." The hillbillies drive by the station and dump Gus's body out. He screams and tries to crawl to safety, but they run him over with their truck. Lita arrives, having been pursued earlier by Sawtooth, and is traumatized over the death of her boyfriend. Carter gives shotguns to Julian and Mose, as well as Billy, after releasing him. She deputizes them and calls for help. She reaches a shortwave radio, calling for help, but the man on the other end thinks she is joking. Carter's husband arrives to bring her some candles and leaves to get some sandwiches for her. Billy and Julian want to go look for Cruz, and eventually Carter lets them. They find Cruz's corpse, but are then captured by the hillbillies. Upon awakening, they find themselves trapped in a soccer stadium with Billy buried up to his neck and Julian chained by the ankle to the goalpost. Julian tries to dig Billy out, but abandons his friend when Three Finger approaches them in a roaring snowblower. Julian tries to climb the post to safety, but Three Finger scares him off. Three Finger then runs over Billy's screaming head, slicing it to pieces, and then mulches up Julian into a bloody mess. Carter then sends Mose to look for the boys, but he gets caught by the hillbillies in a barbed wire trap. The hillbillies then stuff him into a large oil drum and burn him alive. Hearing Moses' calls for help, Carter leaves to help him, leaving Lita alone in the station, with Maynard, who threatens and manipulates Lita into letting him out, stating he will spare her if Lita listens to him. Acting irrationally, Lita lets him free only for him to stab her eyes out with a penknife. Carter returns and locks Maynard back in his cell after wounding him and bandages Lita. She leaves once more to find her husband locked in a car. She opens it and inadvertently springs a trap inside, which disembowels and kills her husband. A blinded and horrified Lita leaves the station, three-finger attacks Carter and savagely beats her unconscious. Carter awakens tied up to the bars of the holding cell Maynard had previously been in. The freed Maynard and his hillbillies drench the station with gasoline, and Maynard explains how he intends to burn down the station with Carter alive in it. However, he has taped a shotgun to her chest with the barrel against her jaw. He explains that if she lets her heels down, it will set the gun off and blow her head off, thus killing herself to avoid a worse death. He leaves her to die after setting fire to the station. Carter screams and screams as Maynard departs into the truck with his hillbillies. The fire burns wildly and begins melting Carter's shoes, to which he reluctantly lets her heels down, and the gun goes off, exploding her head and casting her blood all over the room. A triumphant Maynard hears the gunshot and smiles. As he and the hillbillies drive off, they run into Lita, wandering aimlessly along the road. They pick her up, and she recognizes Maynard's voice, screaming in despair. They drive off into the night, with Lita as their prisoner with the cruel intentions.